Good morning, Mr. Bonds.
Tonight, Barry Bonds ready to fight back. How the defense plans to put the government on trial.
They won't be able to hide from their unethical misconduct.
I'm Katie Couric, also tonight, deserting the Army. American soldiers are deserting at the highest rate in more than a quarter century. Farm subsidies. Why are some of your tax dollars going to millionaires? We'll follow the money. And Assignment America, Steve Hartman proves nothing beats two of a kind.
We've always been real close.
This is the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric.
Good evening, everyone. Baseball superstar Barry Bonds is facing the toughest challenge of his life tonight, not from a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, but from the federal indictment accusing him of perjury and obstruction of justice that could put him away for 30 years. But his defense team is coming out swinging. Our chief investigative correspondent, Armin Katayan, has more about the Bonds strategy.
Morning, Mr. Bonds.
CBS News has learned defense lawyers for Barry Bonds plan to turn the tables by accusing the government of misconduct, specifically leaking confidential information and falsifying documents.
Every American should worry about a Justice Department that can't tell the difference between prosecution on the one hand and persecution on the other.
The defense has targeted in particular the actions of Special Agent Jeff Nowitzki.
CBS News has also learned that in 2004, the government conducted an investigation into whether the agent's credibility would be at issue if the case against Bonds went to trial. To date, the results of that report remain unavailable.
If Bonds goes to trial, federal prosecutors would, for the first time, present what they call direct evidence laid out in the indictment. Positive tests for the presence of anabolic steroids and other performance-enhancing substances. In addition, they'll likely cite evasive and misleading testimony before a grand jury in December 2003, where the government contends Bonds lied under oath at least 19 times about his use of performance-enhancing drugs. For example, when Bonds was asked if, in the weeks and months leading up to November 2000, were you taking steroids, he answered no.
They're going to focus specifically on what Barry Bonds said and why they think they can prove otherwise.
One witness the government won't have is Bonds' former personal trainer. For nearly a year, Greg Anderson sat in this jail for refusing to discuss, let alone testify, against Bonds. Yesterday, within hours of the indictment, a federal judge ordered him released from prison.
7:56.
In contrast to scenes like this, Bonds remained out of sight today on a hunting trip. It's all part of the intrigue in a legal slugfest now shaping up to be the courtroom equivalent of a bench-clearing brawl. Armin Katayan, CBS News, New York.
Meanwhile, Armin's recent investigation into the epidemic of veteran suicides got the attention of Congress. The House Veterans Affairs Committee said today it will hold a hearing next month. Armin found that in 2005, an average of 120 veterans a week committed suicide. CBS News interviewed several families of veterans who took their lives. Some of them told us they don't believe the VA has done enough to confront the problem. Meanwhile, Canada's Supreme Court today denied refugee status to a couple of soldiers who deserted the U.S. Army. By one estimate, 300 American deserters may be hiding in Canada, and they're just part of a growing problem for the U.S. Army. David Martin reports now from the Pentagon.
Desertions from the Army are up dramatically. 4,698 soldiers deserted in the last fiscal year, a sharp 42% increase from the year before. It doesn't take a wild guess to figure out why.
The stress of combat probably is one of the reasons that you see this spike.
Sergeant Phil McDowell is one of those deserters. Now living in Canada, he had served one tour in Iraq and was getting out of the Army when Uncle Sam said, not so fast.
The reason I was being called back was to go to another tour in Iraq, and I didn't agree with that.
McDowell could eventually be deported from Canada and court-martialed by the Army. But for him, that beats going back to Iraq.
If I had been asked to go to Afghanistan, I would have gone there. But the Iraq War, I didn't want to have any part of that anymore.
The rate of desertions is accelerating in a pattern that tracks almost exactly with the extension of tours in Iraq from 12 to 15 months. Still, the overall number of deserters represents less than 1% of soldiers on active duty. During the last unpopular war, Vietnam, the desertion rate was 5%.
5% of the total force. Here we're at 1%.
Vietnam was an army of draftees. Today's is all volunteer. Two different armies. But as one Pentagon study put it, desertion always gets worse in time of war, when the Army tends to increase its demands for troops and to lower its enlistment standards to meet that need. David Martin, CBS News, the Pentagon.
To the crisis in Pakistan now. The State Department's #2, John Negroponte, arrived there today, and his first order of business was to phone opposition leader Benazir Bhutto, who was just released from house arrest. A spokesman says the two discussed the political situation there. Tomorrow, Negroponte meets President Musharraf and is expected to urge him to lift the state of emergency. In this country, the presidential campaign rolled on today after a Democratic debate last night that saw the top 3 candidates take the gloves off and go after one another. They all scored points, but did the truth somehow suffer in the process? For that, we turn to Jim Axelrod in Las Vegas.
He wasn't for
the charges and countercharges were flying in Las Vegas.
But for him to be throwing this mud and making these charges,
with the top Democrats needing to differentiate themselves, perhaps this was no surprise.
Anybody who's making $97,000 or less, you pay payroll tax on 100% of your income.
They were tossing around numbers and facts and figures, but mainly they were trying to look strong. They were trying to look like a leader.
But in the rush to look presidential here in Las Vegas last night, how did the truth hold up?
Senator Clinton defends the system, takes money from lobbyists, does all those things. And my point is simply that people have, no, wait a minute.
Fact check. Edwards is right. Clinton's taken more than $500,000 from lobbyists. But maybe he got booed because while he doesn't take money from Washington lobbyists, he has no problem with special interests. Lawyers have given Edwards more than $8 million.
The fact of the matter is that I do provide universal health care.
Obama and Clinton got into it over health care.
His plan would leave 15 million Americans out. I have a universal health care plan that covers everyone.
Fact check. She's right. Obama proposes universal access, not universal coverage. Independent experts think this could leave as many as 15 million poor without any guarantee. To raise more money for Social Security, Obama attacked Clinton for not committing to increasing the amount of income subject to a Social Security tax, currently capped at $97,500.
I do not want to fix the problems of Social Security on the backs of middle-class families and seniors. If you lift the cap completely, that is a $1 trillion tax increase.
This is the kind of thing that I would expect from Mitt Romney or Rudy Giuliani, where we start playing with numbers.
Fact check. Obama's right, but Clinton has said privately what she won't say publicly. She is open to raising the cap, which would be a tax increase. Obama's counter, that $97,500 is not a middle-class income, is correct. Just under 7% of Americans make more than that. With all these Democrats accurately punching holes in each other, perhaps the real winners last night were the Republicans. Jim Axelrod, CBS News, Las Vegas.
But the Republicans are going after one another as well. New Hampshire's Attorney General is investigating a case of illegal push polling that tops tonight's Campaign 08 notebook. In push polling, the caller tries to push voters to see a candidate in a particular light. In New Hampshire, push pollers said positive things about Senator John McCain, then asked voters if they knew Mitt Romney is a Mormon.
I think the attempts to attack me on the basis of my faith are un-American.
It's disgraceful, it's outrageous, it's in violation, we believe, of New Hampshire law, as well as any kind of decency or good taste.
Rudy Giuliani spoke today at a lawyers' convention in Washington, D.C., and said he believes the United States has a, quote, divine role in leading the world.
It was this nation that saved the world from the two great tyrannies of the 20th century, Nazism and communism. It's this country that's going to save civilization from Islamic terrorism.
Also in Washington today, thousands of civil rights protesters held what they called a March for Justice. Led by Al Sharpton and Martin Luther King III, they rallied at the Justice Department to demand that public hanging of nooses be prosecuted as a hate crime. They also called for federal intervention in the so-called Gina 6 case in Louisiana. It was a great moment for a great president, Abraham Lincoln's 1863 Gettysburg Address. This is the only known photo of Lincoln at the battlefield 144 years ago this week. Or is it? An amateur historian has uncovered this photo in the Library of Congress. He says he's sure it shows Lincoln on horseback before the address. We've been able to enhance and clean up the photo, and you can clearly see the tall man with a stovepipe hat. Is it Lincoln? To be honest with you, we may never know for sure. There is much more CBS News ahead, including Sister Act and Steve Hartman's Assignment America. But up next, New York City has but one working farm, so why are so many New Yorkers getting farm subsidies? We'll follow the money in a moment. The Senate today blocked, at least temporarily, a bill providing billions in subsidies to farmers. The bill is popular and expected to pass, but it's hung up right now in a dispute over unrelated amendments. Critics of farm subsidies, though, say a lot of the money goes to wealthy farmers and corporations. Tonight, investigative correspondent Cheryl Atkinson follows the money.
Each year, taxpayers fork over about $20 billion in farm subsidies to help keep America's farms up and running. But over the years, more and more of the payments have gone to Fortune 500 companies, the wealthy, and even members of Congress. Ken Cook, who researches the issue, says it makes about as much sense as putting a milk bucket under a bull.
All the big farms get most of the money. 10% of the beneficiaries get over 70% of the payments, because the bigger your farm, the more money you get.
At their best, farm subsidies help American farmers who do well some years but would go out of business other years when crops don't grow or prices are weak. But just look at the number of beneficiaries who live, of all places, in New York City. Often people who've bought or inherited land that qualifies for subsidies, though they live in high-rent city homes. Even New York billionaire Edgar Bronfman Sr. receives farm subsidies. Members of Congress who vote on farm subsidies and earn $165,000 government salaries also can get payments. A dozen of them or their close family have gotten a total of $6.2 million over 10 years. One of them, Arkansas Congressman Marion Barry.
This is land that I cleared myself.
He's grown rice his whole life and has collected subsidies from the start. Today, he and his family members have interests in several farm corporations. You and your family's farming interests received almost $2.4 million in federal payments from 95 to 05, according to records. Is that true?
I don't have any idea. That sounds like an awful lot of money to me.
Whatever the amount, most Americans would hardly envision Barry as the disadvantaged farmer. Can you tell me what your net worth is?
My net worth?
Yes.
I don't have any idea.
No idea.
Well, it's not very much.
Is it more than $1 million?
Well,
this range says 1.7 million to 6.6 million.
That's probably pretty close.
The new farm bill working its way through Congress attempts to cut off some of the wealthy. Under one version, no one earning more than $1 million a year could get subsidies. That wouldn't affect Barry. He's worth a lot, but says his yearly income falls below the $1 million mark. There's nothing illegal or improper about the wealthy receiving farm subsidies. Ken Cook says it's just not fair to taxpayers.
Shouldn't we ask farmers when they come in the door, like we ask so many other people for government programs, do you need the money? How are you doing financially?
For some well-to-do farmers, the harvest is especially bountiful. They're sowing the land and reaping your tax dollars. Cheryl Atkinson, CBS News, Washington.
Still ahead, our story on freerice.com led to a record donation to the hungry. Thanks to you. In Bangladesh tonight, aid workers are struggling to get help to hundreds of thousands who survived a powerful cyclone. One news agency said today the death toll may hit 1,100. The storm wiped out entire villages along the coast, taking down trees and power lines with a 4-foot storm surge and winds that topped 150 miles an hour. Meanwhile, in this country, Hurricanes Katrina and Rita did more damage than we knew. It turns out they also caused the biggest U.S. forestry disaster on record, destroying or damaging 320 million trees over a vast area. And experts say all the decomposing trees will add to the buildup of greenhouse gases. And look at all the green and satellite images before the hurricanes and all the brown after they hit. Now an update on one of last night's stories about an internet game that helps feed the world's hungry. It was already an online sensation, but after our report, you, the viewers, really went to work, and the donations are growing with every mouse click. Here's our science and technology correspondent, Daniel Seberg.
Applaud means clap.
Yes! FreeRice.com is a word game with a mission. Every right answer means 10 grains of rice gets donated to the UN's World Food Program.
By itself, it's very little. But when you combine it with millions of people, each giving 10 grains, it gets into hundreds of metric tons.
In fact, 270 metric tons so far. The site's creator, John Breen, says that after our story ran last night, 20 million right answers were clicked, bringing the donation total to over 2 billion grains. Visitors to the site include these dedicated school kids in Bloomington, Indiana.
Does that matter more
to you guys, that this is not just a game, that it's actually helping people?
Yeah, that matters.
The UN says the rice will be in cyclone-ravaged Bangladesh soon, with more likely on its way to drought-stricken Africa. Daniel Seberg, CBS News, New York.
In other news, First Lady Laura Bush spoke out today against the bloody crackdown on pro-democracy protesters in Myanmar. She called for a worldwide boycott of Burmese rubies and other gems, which are the military government's third largest source of revenue. Mrs. Bush said every Burmese gem that's sold sustains what she called an illegitimate, repressive regime. Coming up next, two very special ladies in their 80s in Steve Hartman's Assignment America. We end the week as we usually do with Steve Hartman. His Assignment America tonight is doubly good.
Don't let your eyes fool you.
Hi there.
This 80-year-old Walmart greeter from Madison, Wisconsin,
I'm going out and wipe tables.
and this 80-year-old dining room attendant at Culver's restaurant are not one and the same.
Hi there.
Although they are about as akin as they come.
We've always been real close.
To wit. Dora and Doris are identical twins, obviously.
We said that together, didn't we?
Yes, you did.
We do that a lot.
Born in 1927, they grew up sharing everything, from the same dolls to the same taste buds.
Anchovies.
No.
Duck.
Mother used to fix it.
Kidney beans.
Yeah, I like in chili.
They met their husbands at the same church group and got married on the same day. They each had one son, retired from the same cafeteria job, and even had their hysterectomies together. And you thought synchronized swimming was impressive. But what may be most remarkable of all is the fact that in the last 80 years, they say no one has ever seen them in separate outfits.
Only once, I think, we had different shoes on.
Oh, scandal.
Quite a few of our friends teased us.
Really?
Yeah. They said, oh, look at there, the twins are different.
But that was long ago.
You sure do.
And there have been no slips since.
Your glasses even look exactly alike.
Yeah, they are.
Oh.
But our rings aren't alike.
But they say the greatest thing about having someone so like you for so long isn't just being able to finish each other's sentences. It's having a safe harbor for your embarrassing secrets, like he cries at the Lion King theme, and he used to get his hair permed. I'm glad I don't have a twin.
Oh, dear.
Doris and Dora decided long ago
Hi there.
that becoming an individual wasn't nearly as important as staying inseparable.
Super duper.
Really, this whole ritual of mirroring one another is just an excuse for keeping close. You can't look alike if you don't get your hair done together. Can't coordinate outfits if you don't talk every day. Which is why you never will see them dressing differently.
No, not until the Lord takes us.
Okay. And probably not even then. Although they've yet to make funeral plans, the twins say they're not ruling out matching pantsuits.
They are so great, and they must talk to each other every morning and coordinate their outfits,
Yeah,
right?
and it's down to the earrings, the watches, everything.
And it's so funny how they answer the same question at the same time, right?
It was like doing a one-person interview. They're just echoing each other.
Meanwhile, I didn't know you had a twin. I think the other one's cuter.
Yeah,
I'm
he
just
is,
kidding.
isn't he? Yeah.
Anyway, tell us about next week.
Okay. Next week, we have an update. New developments in the story of Corey Holtzlander, the car salesman who cares more about helping the homeless than selling cars. I'll tell you what wonderful things he's up to now. In the meantime, I'm always looking for your story ideas, so to suggest a subject, please go to cbsnews.com and click on Assignment America. If it's a good one, I'll tell it. And don't forget to tune in for that update on Corey next Friday night.
And I absolutely love that story, so I can't wait to see what he's what
that's
he's
great.
doing now.
Yeah, that's
okay,
great.
thanks, Steve. And that's the CBS Evening News. I'm Katie Couric in New York. Thank you for watching this week. I'll see you on Monday. Until then, have a great weekend. Good night.
For news 24 hours a day, click on CBSNews.com. Brought to you in part by Crest White Strips Daily Multicare. This is the only 5-minute strip that brightens your smile in 3 ways, all with just 5 minutes a day. Crest White Strips Daily Multicare.